Hello everyone, Joe from Central Jersey Conrail and Scale, and welcome back. So it's Friday, June 25th, and as promised, here's the next video in our scenery construction series. So today is the last Friday of the month, so what does that mean? That means that you can expect these construction series videos to be released every Friday morning, the last Friday of the month. Okay, so what we're doing today is we're going over how I wrapped up Jamesburg. So last time we left off, I had put in all the insulation, or all the pink insulation foam, and kind of just started working on everything. And so now we're going to come back, we're going to put the structures in, we're going to do the ground cover. I'm going to go over briefly about the roads. You'll see a little bit of the striping and how the roads were in, but you're not going to see everything. So the reason you're not going to see everything with the roads is because I talk about it in the next video segment. That back corner is just horrible for video shooting. It's hard for me to get in there and do my work and you to see everything. A lot of the footage was the back of my head and the back of my shirt, and it was horrible footage. Tons of it got thrown out. I was able to get stuff, just happening, remembering to move the camera and me moving my body at certain points was able to save a lot of video footage to make a video, but a lot of the nitty-gritty stuff like me putting in the roads and how I did it didn't come out. But rest assured, I know there's been tons and tons of questions. John Tanzanello talked about it on his channel, about using the craft foam. I picked it up from Rob Bennett on his channel. So, but when I get over to Englishtown, I've already shot those segments for that video, and it's beautiful shooting there. So we're going to get some really good shots of me putting in the roads. I'll go over it step by step in detail, show you really how I came in and put it together. And then the questions have already started coming in about the road striping, and the road striping is all from highways and byways. So I think that's all I'm going to say before you watch the video. So I'm going to stop talking for now. I'm going to cut you over to the video. Go watch it, and I'll catch you on the backside, and we'll wrap it up for today. Okay, so let's get started. So right now I'm just building up the base for the tavern and the house that's over on that side of the intersection. Here I'm just adding another street over here and then tacking it down. It's just a 2mm craft foam from Michaels. Here you can see the highway striping from highways and byways. Okay, so here I'm getting started weathering the streets. It took me a little while to figure this out and to get it right. If you look at the roads when you're driving around, the weathering is kind of just like a solid line in the middle of where the cars run. And I had to experiment with the right colors, because if I was using an earth tone, it kind of looked like dirt, like a dirty road. That's not really what I was looking for. So I eventually switched to a gray weathering powder, and it really worked out perfectly. So give it a shot and just kind of play with the tones versus the color of the road that you're doing. So now I'm just moving around, hitting the intersections where the traffic crosses and trying to give it a little heavier weathering. And what you're doing is you're trying to simulate all the oil and grime that the cars leave behind in the lane of travel. I was very happy with the outcome. The roads really turned out perfectly. Okay, so here we are getting started putting our buildings on. So all my buildings are lit, so they have wires, so I got to get the wires down through the foam. So I found the best way is to kind of poke a hole with a bamboo skewer and then come back with the hot wire tool and kind of just open it up a little more to clean it out so the wire passes through easily. So the foam, I really like it for doing flat surfaces where you don't have a lot of contour that you have to work with. I could see, looking at other modelers, how building mountains, it's very optimal. But if you're doing a lot of rolling kind of hills, I prefer the cardboard and plaster gauze. Okay, so here we are getting started on Manalapan Lake. I'm going to just preface it this way. I really wanted to put this footage in here so you guys could kind of get an idea of my process for doing this lake, but a lot of the shots just didn't come out very well. It's just this area back here, there's not enough room to get the camera in to get some really good shots of what I'm doing. So, you know, just bear with it. So here I am adding sidewalks for Jamesburg Memorial Park. What I'm doing is I'm using latex caulk to build up underneath my sidewalks so they kind of don't droop in, because they're above. I'm putting them above the road to kind of give that curb line look. And I found that the latex caulk is kind of filling, where if you use like a wood glue, it kind of squeezes out and then it droops. So that's why I'm using caulk here and just building it up so it's nice and level. Okay, so here we are working over at the lake again. So I don't have very much experience with water features. It's kind of, I only did it once. So here I am pouring the plaster. You know, the subterranean of the lake was a little uneven, so plaster should be self-leveling. You're going to see here that it did not come out very well. On top was very bumpy and lumpy. So when I peel that tape back, I mean, I know that one side of the lake is thinner than the other, and that's understandable because the plaster is leveling it out, but the top surface just looked horrible. So I had to come up with some kind of plan to fix that. So I really wish I'd kept the microphone on for the audio on this, because I was just so excited to pull that tape back and look. And then I looked at it and said, ooh, that just doesn't look right. What happened? So it was kind of like a letdown, but I came up with a good solution. The next scene you're going to see me, I'm going to come in with a sponge. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to take a sponge and kind of just get it wet and smooth it out and be able to remove that lumpiness. And the first couple passes, I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work. It was so hard, the sponge had no effect. So kind of got an idea of just taking the rasp and just shaving it and kind of whittling it down, and it worked out really, really well. And then I came back with the sponge and just you know, smoothed out my gouge marks from my tool. So the good thing that did happen was that I sealed it up really well, so there was no leaks. I was very happy about that, because I had all kinds of drop cloths, because I've heard horror stories of plaster leaking from everywhere. And I guess I kind of made it a little on the heavy side, you know, a little thicker. Maybe that may have contributed to my lumpiness on the surface, but I didn't have any leaks. So we worked through it and it turned out pretty good. Okay, so the plan for the lake is, you know, we're going to paint it. You'll see coming up here in the next scene. But I'm not going to finish the surface. I'm going to leave it the way it is. And once all the scenery is around it, then I'll come back and put the finish on it and do the water effects. so Manalapan Lake is green, and over the spillway into the channel leading away from the lake is also green, so that's why I chose the colors I did. I'm using apple barrel paints, jade green and apple barrel apple color, and I'm mixing them. The dark jade green is to represent the darker water, and the lighter color I'm just mixing in a little bit of the apple and using that around the edges to signify shallow water. So let me tell you, I really love apple barrel paints for scenery work. They're sold at Walmart and Michael's. They're 50 cents a bottle, and they do really nice on scenery products like plaster and gauze. Even the foam, it comes out pretty good. Not so much on plastic. It's a little tricky to get it right on plastic, but for the money, for 50 cents a bottle, and it goes a long way, I highly recommend using these colors. So here we are getting started with ground cover. Yeah, the park, the footage was just my rear end and my back, so I just edited it out. It was useless footage, so it's done now, and now we're moving on. Throughout the town, I tried to use a medium green to kind of represent that manicured grass, and used a fine texture. Didn't really get coarse or clumpiness. Maybe want to come back with some buffalo tufts along the tracks or something to represent some weeds. So what I have planned for behind the buildings is large stands of super trees to kind of bring that backdrop and the scenery together. So what I'm doing here is I'm using burnt grass and forest cover to kind of prep the area for where I want the trees. You'll notice here that these two structures are not glued down, with the exception of the tavern and the shop where the Chinese food place and the florist is going to be, and the Domino's Pizza. Those three buildings are glued down, but everything else is loose because I learned in Saraville, with all the interior lighting and stuff, the lights failed over at the Sunshine facility. I couldn't get to them because the building was glued to the ground, so that's why all the buildings after Sunshine I did not glue down unless I had to. So that's why that building's kind of moving around. There, we got some ground cover in Jamesburg and the buildings in. It was a long time coming, but I'm so happy with the way it's coming out. It's just so refreshing to see no more pink over in this area. So I'm looking forward to continuing on the process. Okay, so there you go. That's how we put it together. Very, very happy with the way it's coming out. Really, it's the way I'm envisioned it. Let's go over some of the structures. The wood frame shopping center that has the 2 stores on the bottom and the apartments on top, the white and black building, that is a Blair Line laser cut wood kit. The Domino's Pizza is also, I believe it's a Blair Line wood, it's a laser cut wood kit. The post office. So Jamesburg is kind of an area where it's not, I did not go into depth with scratch building all the buildings. I just wanted to get through it. It's kind of like, wasn't railroad specific, so I didn't get bogged down with the details. So the post office, I couldn't find a suitable kit that matched that 1940s era post office building. So I went with the Woodland Scenics post office, which is super cool because it's all lit up. It's got that flagpole on it, and the light shines right on the flag. It's a really cool looking building. So that's that. The houses, they are all Atlas, Kate's Colonial series, Kate's Colonial, and then the Barb's Bungalow buildings. Those are what I used as all the houses. And then the Parkside Tavern and what we call Sloppy's. That is also a Kate's Colonial that I kit bashed and scratch built the bar section on the front, and I'm really happy with the way they came out. So the last thing to do is to put some signage up, and I'm going to do that when I come back and do details in that area. Lake, Manalapan Lake. That was a fun project. I haven't done a plaster pour for water effects since I was like 13, and of course that was a total debacle too. But I think I worked through this one. Yeah, using the rasp to flatten out the surface of the lake, I think really saved that, because otherwise it would have been a nightmare cutting all that stuff out and re-pouring. The channel, I had to also shave it in there. None of the work I did in the channel over the spillway came out, because it's just so deep in the scene and it was all covered by me. So when it's all done, we'll get some good shots in there of how it's looking. So I came in there and I painted it all up and got it the way I want it to look. I'm going to leave it that way until I get all the scenery done on the other side of the lake, and then I'll come in and I'll do the water pour. I still haven't figured out which brand I'm going to use. But I also know it's not going to be just a glass, lake. I'm going to come in with some water effects and make some ripples, because every time I went down to Manalapan Lake in Jamesburg, there was always a breeze and there was always, some ripples throughout the lake. So I think definitely that's what I'm going to end up doing with that. And then the Veterans Park, yeah, really had to put that in there for obvious reasons, because I am a veteran myself. But I wanted that in there. I gotta find something suitable for the monument. They have a very unique monument where it's kind of square at the base and it has a big pole, big stone pole with a big giant ball on the top. So maybe I'll look on the shapeways and see if I can find, see if I can scratch build it. I gotta do something, but that I can always come back with that. I just don't want to rush that and make it look too cheesy and be like, that doesn't make sense. Funny though, the flag. I had a hard time finding American flags in scale on poles. I had to find them from this Canadian company. It was amazing. Yeah, so the American flag kit, it's from Osborne Model Kits, made in Canada. I'm just going to give them a shout out and throw up the website, www.osbornemodelkits.com. You know what? My hat's off to you, gentlemen, from our neighbors for the north, actually producing an American flag kit that I could use on my layout. It's amazing that I can't find any others. So, but I'm very flattered that the Canadian modelers up north are making American flags for us. So, thank you very much. The other thing is in Jamesburg I wanted to go for that manicured lawn look. The park, the areas around the businesses, they all take care of their landscaping. So I wasn't going for like weedy looking dried out areas. So that's why it's kind of gives you that Plasticville feel, from the old days of InScale with the old sawdust grass. Take you back to those days where it was all that one uniform green, real super green color. But you know what? I think when we put in the trees, I think it'll kind of change it up and it'll make it look a little better. So I'm not too freaking out about it yet. Vehicles. A lot of people have been asking about the vehicles I use, and I'm going on Shapeways and I'm just looking for InScale vehicles, but I'm finding For the Love of Cars, I think is the name of the guy on Shapeways. He's got an amazing catalog of cars, and all from 80s and 70s and back. So I'm able to get that Ford LTD and, you know, the stuff that I remember growing up with. So yeah, and I think that's kind of really sets the tone and the era there. So I still have a lot more vehicles I got to do, and then details. So I'm surprised nobody's really said anything, but you know, when I get in there running trains and start taking pictures and stuff, I'm like, it looks like a neutron bomb went off on this layout, because there's no signs of life other than the trains and the cars. So I really got to focus in on that. So I think what I'm going to do is, remember I told you I wrote the schedule in chalk? Yeah, I think I'm going to move some things around so that I can get back and do a whole video on details. I think I'm going to go over Sayreville and the engine facility. I have tons of detail parts and people and all kinds of stuff. I just haven't put them out. So I think I'm going to devote a whole video of just me doing that, just so you can just follow along, see how it looks, and you know, I think that'll be fun. And so one of the last things I wanted to talk about in Jamesburg is the traffic signal crossing combo. So I that's actually based on the prototype there in Jamesburg, where the intersection is. The tracks cross right through the intersection, and I guess Middlesex County came up with this traffic light scenario, and they put it all together. So when you're actually downtown and you see a train go through, it's pretty neat. So I wanted to kind of recreate that. I know there's traffic light signal controllers and there's crossing signal controllers, but I'd never seen one put together. So when I was talking to some of my operators, Brian W., he brought it up and he's like, oh, well, you could do that with Arduino. So I knew nothing about Arduino. So I asked him, you know, could you help me out with that? So he pretty much took the lead on it, and he used an Arduino, and then the crossing signals are from NJ International, and the traffic lights are actually you get them. I think they're made in China. I see a lot of people getting them off eBay. So he put that all together and worked with the guy from Model Railroad Hobbyist who does all the Arduino stuff. And they came up with the code and put it in, and lo and behold, it works really good. I use infrared sensors for each end. You know, the only thing is if I had to pick anything I didn't like was the IR sensors. They take up kind of quite a bit when you put them in between the tracks. So, but otherwise it works really great. I like it. It adds a lot of animation to the scene, and it's pretty neat to just sit there and watch the traffic light go through its normal cycle, and all of a sudden when the train comes in, it kicks on, and yeah, it works out really good. So I would have never, it would have taken me probably another year or two to figure that out. So thank God for Brian, and he really pulled it all together. So next month, you can see we're going to Englishtown. We're going to go up the line. I'm going to do Englishtown up to a point, but I'm not going to finish it, even though the buildings are almost ready to go in. I got to skip ahead to Monmouth Battlefield and get that to a point, because the roads need to interconnect between the two scenes and all the way up to Freehold. So I want to get them to a point where I don't want to get the roads done in Englishtown and then have to rip out half the stuff to make it all interconnect. So it makes sense. So that's where we're going to go next. Is we're going to Englishtown, and then we'll go to Monmouth Battlefield. All right, so that's going to put a wrap on this video for this month. So if you're seeing this video for the first time and you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the channel, because we'd love to have you following along. And I'm back. I'm producing new videos, so I think it would be an excellent time for you to join us. If you haven't done so already, please check out our Facebook page and Instagram account, because I'm always posting daily updates of all the status and on the work that we've done down here. And then otherwise, that's all I have for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.